Good evening, my dear friends. Instead of the usual the Hindu and the businessline editorial analysis, I am turning my mind to a great leader, the vociferous leader and champion of peace and opening up the country to open speech, free speech, and the restructuring and reformation of his great nation and ending the Cold War and helping the people voluntarily uniting with their former West neighborhood and apart from all, at the age of 18, who was awarded Order of the Labor, which was the highest kind of award an individual like at the age of 18 could get for the collective farming. Yes, you have guessed it right. I am talking about Mikhail Gorbachev, whose sad demise we are witnessing now. Born in 1931, March 2, Mikhail Gorbachev was born in a very poor family in a small village in Russia. He, because of his poverty, was raised as a peasant kid. He completed his schooling and the high schooling, and then before he moved on to the Moscow State University for studying law, he was awarded Order of the Labor for his work towards Kolokhoj farming. Kolokhoj farming means the collective farming. He was born under the Stalin rule, the Joseph Stalin rule of Russia, Soviet Union. Then it was known as the Russian SSR, that is Republic, SSR Republic. Stalin imposed kind of Kolokhoj farming so that he believed that this would uplift Russia out of all kinds of inequalities existing. However, in 1933, there was a great famine in Russia, USSR, or Soviet Union, whatever you may call it. Then it was the Soviet Union, SSR. Then the famine made Russians think about the unscientific conduct of the collective farming. However, the collective farming continued till 1950s. Even Mikhail Gorbachev took part in the collective farming, as I said, and won the award. Because of his Order of the Labor, which he received, he got naturally selected in the Moscow State University for the law education. This was unconventional for a communist person to select law as his subject. However, Mikhail Gorbachev was a very good student. He avidly read and went through some of the works of Pushkin, which influenced his life, and he went on to become the member of the Communist Party following his maternal uncle and his maternal grandfather. He joined into the Communist Party and he was a member of the Communist Party when he became the youngest Politburo member in 1985. In 1986, he became the secretary of the Communist Party of Soviet Union, and naturally he became the de facto administrator of the Soviet Union. Then he thought that this Cold War was destroying Russia, and with Ronald Reagan, he entered into an understanding to end the intermediate weapons treaty and stopping the Cold War. He then moved on with the way of opening up the Russia and restructuring of the Russian economy. The opening of the Russian society for free speech and criticism of the government was named Glasnost. He allowed people to criticize freely the government, and the Glasnost had its benefits. And then he moved towards ending the communist dungeons of choking Russia and restricting Russia, and started Perestroika. Perestroika is nothing but the restructuring of the Russian market system. The state controlled production and consumption was ended with Perestroika, and the restructuring of the Russian market system and opening up for liberalization to align with the world was initiated by him. He then thought of the Council of the Council of the Deputies, and conducted an election. And in 1990, he became the first president of the Soviet Union. So far, Soviet Union had only the General Secretary of the Communist Party as the administrator. It was the first time the Council of Deputies took over the reins of administration in Soviet Union, and in 1990 to 1991 he was the president of the Soviet Union. The dissidents or the people who do not like in the Communist Party, who do not like this kind of arrangement, revolted against him, and in a coup on August 1991 he was attempted to be overthrown. However, then Boris Yeltsin, who was the leader of the Moscow force of the Communist Party, rescued him and he was restored. But most of the powers were taken away from him, and on a Christmas day in 1991, he resigned as the president of the Communist Russia, that is Soviet Union. By then, the disintegration of the Soviet Union had already started, and Soviet Union fell into pieces into 15 countries. Some of the countries named Lithuania, Latvia, Moldova, Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, Georgia, and so on. Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. So 15 countries were ripped apart. And unification of Germany, the East Germany to West Germany happened. It was a voluntary reunification and the fall of the Berlin Wall, which he allowed voluntarily. And therefore, the Western world considers him as the hero of ending of the Cold War and bringing an everlasting peace in Russia. He took over the Soviet Union at a time when the economic recession and the economic stagnancy was killing the Russian interest of living a very normal life. After opening up the market to the private players and capitalism, which Boris Yeltsin government also continued, The Soviet Union became, and after post 1991, Russia became slow by slow a developing country. And with the coming of Vladimir Putin, Russia achieved a, the glory which had been lost. Boris Yeltsin initially was a strong supporter of Mikhail Gorbachev, and later on they had their opinions differently, and many of the attempts of Boris Yeltsin later, the political attempts and political policies of Boris Yeltsin later were criticized by Mikhail Gorbachev. Mikhail Gorbachev ended the 70-year-old communist rule in Soviet Union in 1987. From 1917 to 1987, the communist rule in Russia, Soviet Union was supreme. Mikhail Gorbachev has to his discredit the dissolution of the Communist Party rule in Russia and the dissolution of 15 sovereign states by looking at the practical and pragmatic view which would create a bridge between West and Russia. The legacy of Mikhail Gorbachev for his Glasnost and Peritroika and the rescuing of Russia from the stifling of the communist rule and opening up its free speech and economy for better would always be remembered. He will, such a great stalwart, is the last of its rings Russia can boast of. Rest in peace. Thank you, my dear friends. Let us pay our last respects to the greatest stalwart who always tried to bring peace to the world order and even succeeded in it. Although 15 fragments are still an agony, it can be said that without any sacrifice, a bigger goal cannot be achieved. The disintegration of Soviet Union helped Russia to form its independent opinions devoid of divergent views from different European fragments, its inhabitants and the allies which were having different opinions, and it was put an end to it. So let us pay our last respects to the great leader and the visionary of all times. Rest in peace, Mikhail Gorbachev.